All right, we're going to do the Your Turn problems in section 12.2 on page 8 and 9. And I'm going to do them as problem number 1, then problem number 2, and then problem number 3, 3 separate videos. The first one here should be about 5 minutes, so that one won't be very long, but the other two might take a little bit longer. So we have x squared minus 5x minus 14, which needs to be factored in order to multiply these two. So I have the factors of 14 that are going to give me a difference of 5. That would be the factors of 7 and 2, and I needed negative 5, so I need a negative 7 and a positive 2. And then in the denominator here, I have a binomial, a difference, that's a square, so I need the conjugates, x plus 1 and x minus 1, in order to get that one to factor. So x with a 1 and x with a negative 1. And now I'm going to factor the numerator of the second term. So we have x squared minus 8x plus 7. I need the factors of 7 that sum to 8. So I need an x with a 7, and I need an x with a 1. And because this middle sign is a negative, those both are going to be negatives. Then in the denominator, I need the factors of 2 that give me a difference of 1. So I need an x with a 2 and an x with a 1. And I need it to be a positive 1, so I'll have a positive 2 and a negative 1. Now I can get to the canceling part. So I have this x plus 2 here. We'll cancel with that x plus 2 there. And then x minus 7. There are no x minus 7s here. Remember, we can't cancel when they're both in the numerators. X minus 7, I've already checked that out. And an x minus 1 here with one of these x minus 1s here. Remember, you can only do 1 for 1. You can't cancel this x minus 1 with both this one and this one. It doesn't work that way. And now we multiply it out. Now remembering again that intermediate algebra texts usually would just leave it like this, x minus 7 times x minus 7 squared. Actually, in an intermediate algebra text, it would be given as x minus 7 squared. In a beginning algebra text, if they didn't multiply it out, you might see it as x minus 7 times x minus 7, and then over x minus 1 times x plus 1. And that's where an intermediate algebra text would usually leave this one. However, in a beginning algebra text, as I've said before, it very well may be that they write this out as x squared minus 14x plus 49, which is squaring out that binomial, and then the denominator as x squared minus 1. But that is probably not going to be the case with our text Lehman, which is both a basic and an intermediate text. All right, now moving on to our second example here, we're going to want to factor the numerator. Now this one can be combined and simplified that way, and factoring a leading coefficient that's not 1, but why make it difficult on ourselves? So let's factor as a 4-term polynomial by grouping and by grouping. So I take out a 5x out here, and that's going to leave me with a 3 x in the first term, and then minus a 5 in the second term. And then here, I'm going to take out a negative 1, and that's going to leave me with a positive 3x and a negative 5. And so now I can see that my GCF is 3x minus 5. And so I take that GCF out. Remember, don't write it as a square. You take the GCF out and write it down. And that leaves me with a 5x in the first term minus a 1 in the second term. Now this second one down here in the denominator, this has a negative that I'm going to take out. So this is going to look like a negative 5 times a positive 3x minus a 5. And now going over to the second term to factor it, this has a GCF of 5. So I'm going to write that as 5 times x squared minus 4. Now that's the difference of two perfect squares. So that's going to be 5 times an x minus 2 and an x plus 2. And now the denominator, I have a negative in here. So I'm going to take that negative out, and that's going to have given me a 5x squared, and then a plus a 9x and a minus a 2. So I need the factors of 10 that give me a difference of 9. So that's going to be a 5 here and an x here, and then I'm going to do a 2 here and a 1 here. And I need a negative 9, positive 9, so it's going to be a positive there and a negative there. And now I'll get out my pen and cancel. So this goes with this. This one will go with this one, and then I have that 5 with that 5, and that x plus 2 with that x plus 2, and then a negative times a negative is a positive, so this is going to be a positive, and it's going to be an